evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, great leaders and great scholars. Thank you very much for joining us once again tonight as we discuss leadership. We do this every week, precisely every week, Wednesdays. We've been doing this quite some times now as we showcase these master classes. We unleash our powerful leaders, and we come here to learn from each other. Actually, we come here, as we always say in this platform, we come here to learn, to unlearn, to relearn, and to co-learn as leaders, because leadership, it's a journey. You will never arrive as long as you are still here on planet Earth. That is why when you're a leader, or if you're a leader, you've got to constantly develop yourself, because there are times when we think that we are doing it correctly, only to find that, no, we are off the line. So this platform was created to assemble here as leaders, to empower each other, to inspire each other, to correct each other, to admonish each other, and yeah, as I've said earlier on, to learn from each other. My name is Mazwe Majola. I'm from the Worldwide Institute of Leadership and Development. We develop leaders, we empower leaders, we train leaders, we produce world-class leaders, and also scholars. So this is why we are here. So thank you so much for joining us again tonight. This is our leadership session, and as I said last week, this is leaders. But next week it will be our last session for the year, or of the year. It has been a marathon meeting every week for the whole year. So we'll break next week, but we'll meet next week for our last session. Then we'll take a break. We'll come back again next year because we've got to do this. Leadership is everything, and everything is leadership. That is why this platform is attended by people I respect and admire the most. We learn a lot from each other. You've got scholars here from different universities, experts in different fields. We've got politicians, we've got members of the media, we've got executives from public sector and from private sector. You've got community leaders, religious leaders, managers, professionals from all walks of life, just here to discuss leadership. Tonight, we are discussing a very important and a very interesting topic in this last part one session of the year. We are tonight discussing the role of leaders in sustaining healthy and productive workplaces. What a relevant topic towards the end of the year. And obviously, we just need to get these nuggets. We go and break and relax and rest. We come back and we know exactly what we need to do as leaders to make sure that we sustain, we manage, and we sustain and manage that healthy and that productive workplaces. That's where we should be, and that's what we should be doing. And tonight we are hosting my sister, Dr. Lesego Rametsi Dikoma. She's the group head of health and wellness at APSA Group. My sister, Dr. Lesego, thank you so much for respecting us and for availing yourself to come and join this community of leaders here. I want to warn you, and all those who are joining us for the first time, that this community is very contagious. Once you attend once, there is no way you will not come again next time, because that is where, as I said earlier on, great leaders you'll find really. I myself learn a lot from these colleagues of ours. Before you start, my sister, let me welcome our regulars and our members, those men and women who are here almost every week. But also let me welcome or give a special welcome to those colleagues who are here for the first time. If you've never been here before, it's your first time. Thank you so much. And please do participate, do feel at home. Our format is that the speaker will address us, and then after that, we will ask questions or we'll enter into conversation with each other as we always do here. So please, don't hold back, don't be shy, don't be diffident. This is it's peers speaking to other peers. Really, this is what this community is all about, where we encourage each other and where we inspire each other. Sis Lisejo, thank you so much, Doc. You can address us now, and then once you've addressed us, we'll then get into questions and answers. But thank you so much for availing yourself, and thank you so much for your humility and your respect when we engaged you, despite of your tight schedule, but you availed yourself. We really appreciate you, my sister. Thank you so much, and go and you can go ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Good evening, colleagues. It's an honor and a privilege to be here this evening. Thanks, Prof, for having me. And good evening to everyone. Let me just put this on full screen. Okay, it went to the wrong slide. Let me just do this quickly. I was telling Prof that I'm used to Teams, so it's the first time actually that I'm doing a presentation on Zoom. So I hope everyone can see me and that you can also see my presentation. Good evening, everyone. As Prof said, I work for the ABSA Group. I'm currently the managing executive for Colleague Experience. My background, I'm a medical doctor. I've also specialized in occupational medicine, which is a field of public health. And I currently look after colleague well-being for the group. And in addition, I look after, culture, colleague engagement, and everything in between. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. And I hope that I will do it some justice. It's not something that you can do, in an hour. But I'm hoping that I'll take you through my slides in about 30 to 40 minutes so that I can leave a bit of time for a Q&A and a discussion. So if you do have questions, you are more than welcome to put them in the chat functionality in the meantime. Or you can note them on your phone or on a piece of paper, and I do, promise that we will get to that. So as Prof said, I'm of the view that, mental well-being, it's actually, the pandemic that we are coinciding with, globally. I'm going to share a few stats with you. And some of the stats might actually be a bit outdated because I did not have an opportunity to actually just verify and update them, but they still are quite relevant. And workplaces are a microcosm of populations that we serve. So whatever we see in the greater communities, that usually spills into the workplace. If you are an academic, it will spill into your universities, tertiary institutions, and the like. And it's important that, as leaders, we really understand, what the lay of the land is when it comes to the burden of mental health. And really to start asking ourselves, what is the role that leaders play in sustaining a healthy and productive workplace from a mental well-being point of view? And for leaders like ourselves, we always have to ask the question, what is the business case? And I'll also even go further and say, what is the investment case actually in having a comprehensive well-being program? And that's one of the things that hopefully I will leave you with, this evening. So my presentation today, I'll try and cover quite a lot around the trends, mental health trends, globally and specifically in South Africa. I'll start even putting in some numbers around the economic cost of mental illness, and we'll also delve a bit into the business case or the investment case of having a comprehensive mental well-being program. And then thereafter, we'll look at some of the drivers of mental illness, and I'll also spend a bit of time looking at components of a comprehensive wellness program, and I'll do some closing remarks, and then after I'll open it to a Q&A. It is estimated that 1 in 4 people worldwide will be affected by mental disorders. And this is actually an outdated stat because it was something that was stated pre-COVID. And if I remember correctly, during COVID, this number was revised up to 2 in 4. And post-COVID, we are actually thinking that 2 in 3 individuals will be affected by mental disorders in their lifetime. So here we're talking, a region of 66%. So 2/3 of individuals will have a mental health disorder in their lifetime. And we know that mental disorders are a leading cause of ill health and disability worldwide. And more than 40% of countries worldwide do not have a mental health policy. However, we count ourselves lucky as South Africans that we do have. However, how it translates to, mental health services, and I mean, if I think about, what is happening in the public health space, we can actually, conclude that although we have a robust policy when it comes to access, that, there is a challenge there. And, over 30% of countries do not have a mental health policy. And you'll see here that number, we come from 60% having a mental health policy, with 70%, only having a mental health program. And some of the countries actually, especially in some parts of Africa, they do not have a mental health legislation. With regards to the magnitude of, mental health challenges, if you match it with the size and the effectiveness of the response it demands, 33% of countries allocate less than 1% of their total health budgets to mental health. And in addition, 33% spending, covers only, 33% of that will go towards budgets on mental health. We do have a limited range of medicines that are available and are sufficient to treat the majority of mental health disorders. And I can also confirm, especially in South Africa, given the disparity between, private healthcare access and public health access, you see, you see that disparity quite pronounced in what is available in the private health sector, especially with regards to formularies and access to comprehensive care, and what you would see also in the public sector. You'll see that about a quarter of countries do not have, the 3 most commonly prescribed drugs used to treat severe mental health conditions like schizophrenia, depression, and epilepsy at the primary healthcare level. And a primary healthcare level would be something like your local clinic. And that is still the case in a country as, a middle income country like South Africa, in the public health space. And the one stat I also want to share is that 40% of countries have less than 1 bed, reserved for mental disorders per 10,000 people. So this really paints a picture of, how, healthcare spend is limited given the gravity of what is about to hit us as mental health is the next pandemic. So with regards to some of the stats also that I want to share relevant to South Africa, I did share that, there's a lifetime risk that 1 in 3 South Africans will have a mental health disorder. And here we're talking mental health from, your common mental health conditions like depression, anxiety, to severe mental health conditions like schizophrenia, personality disorders, and bipolar mood disorder. So it's the whole range. And there's a higher prevalence, we have a higher prevalence of mental health compared to many of our low and middle income counterparts. And I think this really talks to some of the socio, economic and also our historic background as a country, which really drives this higher prevalence. We currently spend about 2.7% of our health budget on mental health care. And if you look at other middle income countries, I think India now can be classified, as a more higher income. But if you look at countries that, would be similar to ours, you'll see that Brazil would be spending about 2.38, and then India 0.06%. If you think about the human resources, and these are now individuals that are meant to give specialized care for mental health disorders, you'll see that we have 1.2 psychiatrists for 100,000 people of per population, and for psychiatric nurses we're looking at 7.5. And this really just shows the level of under investment in care for psychiatric conditions. And like all the other how we look at specialized healthcare services, you'll see that these are by and large concentrated in urban locations, and a lot of our rural provinces have one or no psychiatrists. So that's also another thing that we have to appreciate, that there are limited resources, both from a financial and human resources point of view, but in addition to that, it is not evenly distributed for the benefit of the population. So what are some of the indirect costs of mental health disorders? You'll see that this is an estimation. Direct cost of about 472 million, and this is really the cost of treating mental health disorders. And there's an indirect cost, around, sick leave utilization, low productivity, and lost earnings. And there are also social costs that sometimes they are quite difficult to quantify. And here we're talking about disrupted families and social networks. There's a high level of stigmatization around mental health disorders. And I know that I can attest that a lot of individuals that live with mental health conditions still suffer from discrimination, whether in their social settings, but also in workplaces. And in some instances, there's loss of future opportunities. These individuals can often be marginalized and they have a decreased quality of life. And all these things actually, add to the impact and the cost of the burden of mental health in the population. So if you think about what the business case is, and I mean, if I think about individuals that have joined this conversation, business leaders, leaders in, private, public sector, in the religious sector, is what is the investment case that we have to think about to really, sell, the need to have comprehensive mental well-being programs, in our spheres of influence. Firstly, we know that presenteeism accounts for 3 times as much lost productivity as absence from work. So you can have individuals that come into the workplace, but their productivity would be impacted or impaired if they have a severe mental illness that impacts on their cognitive functioning, and that actually will lead to lost productivity. So you will have bumps on seats, but it will not have the commensurate productivity. Over 25% of South Africans have been diagnosed with depression. And that also comes with its own, costs of both presenteeism, absenteeism. And we do know that individuals that have, severe mental health challenges will experience cognitive impairment. Here we're talking about difficulty in concentrating, indecisiveness, forgetfulness. And if you think about the world of work currently, these are the skills that are that are required for individuals to be productive at work. We lose about 27 working days per year due to mental health, and this number, in rand terms, I know it's quite under. I think it's an understated number. And we do know that by 2030, the World Health Organization actually predicts that depression will be the world's leading burden of disease, and it will surpass cardiovascular conditions. And it really is important for companies to build a culture of health that yields greater value for their investors. And there's data actually that shows, especially in countries like the USA, that organizations that invest in robust and comprehensive, mental well-being programs, they surpass, their competitors by about 3 to 5.3%. So if you think about the investment case, and I think most of you would have started hearing this term around, the fourth bottom line. And the fourth bottom line is around health and well-being, over and above the other three bottom lines, which is people, profits, and the planet. So most of you would have seen the 8 dimensions of well-being. I think as individuals, we do appreciate that, we are multidimensional beings. And if you think about the 8 dimensions of well-being, we start looking at physical well-being, emotional, financial well-being, occupational well-being, the social aspects of things that make us really productive and well, spirituality, intellectual well-being, and environmental well-being. And I'm going to spend a bit of time really taking you through how each of these aspects actually can impact our mental well-being. I think most of you would know that there's a connection between the physical and the our mental well-being. So if you are unwell, so think about it, if you have a toothache, it might make you sad. And if you are if you are coinciding with or let me just give another example, your mental ill health can manifest as a physical illness. So usually the common symptoms of depression or anxiety, usually it's psychosomatic symptoms. So for an example, a person might present with gastrointestinal symptoms, ulcers, but it might actually be driven by mental ill health. In addition, we do know that poor diet and physical inactivity are some of the factors that can lead to mental ill health. And in addition, generally people who have mental well-being challenges, especially with things like depression, you might end up either overeating or undereating, and you have low energy levels that might impact on your ability to be physically active. So this psychosomatic connection is quite important. Emotional well-being talks to our ability to really manage stress. And for individuals like yourselves in senior leadership roles, you'd know that stress is something that we have to concede with, but our ability to manage stress actually is what would set you apart on whether or not it becomes a mental illness. Stress in its acute form, it's a good thing because for those of you, you would know that in a stressful situation, there are 3 reactions. It's either you freeze, you flee, or you have a fright. And most of us, even before I came for this presentation, I had a bit of butterflies in my tummy, but that's important because in short bursts, stress actually will help with performance. However, stress in its chronic, when you are chronically in a stressed state, that's when it can impact on your well-being. and that's actually a precursor to burnout. And we do know that as we engage with one of the things that we talk about in this current era is that change is a constant, and our ability to navigate and manage change is something that also can either impact on our mental well-being or cause us to have mental well-being challenges. I do not have to talk about finances because we do know that one of the top causes of mental well-being actually is financial challenges. It's amongst the top 3 drivers of mental well-being. With regards to social well-being talks to the state of positive relationships around us and whether or not we have social structures that are supportive. And I think South Africa, we also, if I think about, our history around migrant labor, urbanization, and all the other factors, that, form part of our painful history. The family structure is something that has been over, many generations was broken. And we do know that, a lot of modern families are trying really hard to build on that, but it's something that we also have to be mindful of. Human beings we are social creatures by nature, and I think one of the drivers of high levels of mental ill health during COVID time with the lockdowns, it had to be with, the removal of, physical and social connections. So that's something we must always be mindful of. The next aspect is intellectual stimulation. All of us, and I think the reason why we have 31 people on this call on a Wednesday evening, 3 weeks before Christmas, is that we do want to engage in creative and stimulating mental activity. So when human beings are unable to do that, that can also impact on their mental well-being. With regards to occupational well-being, and I think maybe something that all of us would appreciate is that the job that we do, becomes fulfilling when it matches the interests that we have, and we get a lot of positive mental well-being, stimulation when we have the ability to do volunteering work, where we can mentor, where we can add value, where we can, unlock opportunities in others, and also how we really get personal fulfillment. Those are the positive things when our occupational well-being is taken care of. With regards to the last 2, environmental factors are quite important, especially in the workplace, and it is really, imperative that we create safety, healthy working environments free of hazards. And these hazards actually have to be free of physical hazards, but also mental hazards, because we do know that, a lot of individuals in the workplace have to concede with unhealthy and toxic work environments, usually perpetuated by leaders. So that's something that we have to bring into the room. And there's also some hygiene issues that all of you can appreciate. And the last one is spiritual well-being. And I think as we think about, our EQ, we move from a place where we talked about IQ being the only thing, then we added EQ. And I think as we continue now, we know that SQ is also an important component, especially for leaders like ourselves. And I think individuals really want to have the ability to connect to a higher being or purpose, and freedom to also practice their beliefs. So you'll see that across the 8 dimensions, all these components can either drive positive mental well-being, or in the absence of these, they can actually lead to mental illness. So some of the things that I wanted to touch on is how then do you start looking at a proactive mental well-being strategy, if you think about the 8 dimensions. So how we look at it in the organization where I work, we look at, the 3 aspects, personal well-being, where, we empower individuals to take accountability for their own well-being, and we'll talk a bit on that. And here, team well-being, and here success relies on leaders like ourselves showing up differently and role modeling, habits that enable people and teams to thrive. And this can only work if the organization actually also provides guardrails, infrastructure that will facilitate individuals and teams to fulfill the individual well-being goals, but also collective well-being goals. And ultimately, when these things come together, that's where you can start seeing sustained performance, high levels of engagement, and really happy, fulfilled, employees. And I think all of us would want to work for organizations like that. Are we there as an organization? Not yet, but I'm of the view that we've really started building some blocks that will support that. So how does that look like then practically? So from a personal well-being point of view, we really look at, we talk about the healthy mind platter, and this is a neuroscience-based, approach where we really look at, what are the micro habits that individuals can incorporate in that, in their daily lives so that things can become second nature. So think about something that we do every day without thinking about, which is brushing our teeth. I think most of us, we brush our teeth, in the morning and in the evening without thinking about it because it's a habit that we have formed over time. So we really try and look at what are the things that individuals can do. And if I think about Discovery, for an example, if you are on Vitality, they now have these personalized health pathways that really look at, things that you can do, small things that you can do every day to really impact on your well-being. And I'm of the view that there are four foundations that build health. So the first one is around physical well-being. So exercise is important. The second one is around nutrition. The third one is around sleep. We do know that individuals that do not get the requisite amount of sleep, 6 to 8 hours every day, they have a higher risk of developing mental health conditions. And the fourth one is the tools actually that one can incorporate into their daily lives to really manage stress. So here we're talking mindfulness exercise, breath work, things that really can calm our nervous system so that we can navigate stressful, circumstances, a lot easier. In addition, we have a comprehensive financial well-being program because we are a financial institution, but also we appreciate that financial well-being is one of the drivers of mental ill health. And additionally, we really empower our colleagues where it's possible to really manage boundaries and support work-life fit. Is this easy? It's not always easy, but I think we are on the right track. The second one really is about team well-being. And here, this is the role that as leaders we play. I'm of the view that leaders cast the longest shadow. And I think when leaders role model, well-being, it becomes easier for teams actually to follow suit. So I'm of the view that leaders have a responsibility to create, psychological safety where, they can support colleagues facing challenges. They can also be vulnerable and share their own well-being stories because all of us do have, mental health stories. It's impossible that we role model the well-being behavior, by incorporating the personal well-being challenges that I talked about, but also to demystify burnout and resilience and to talk more about these things, but also to foster an environment where people can create healthy boundaries. So I always give an example that you cannot talk about work-life balance or work-life fit where you expect, your teams to work 24 hours a day and 7 days a week. So that's quite important. How do you create and negotiate boundaries that support performance? So one of the things that we've incorporated, at the organization that I work, is we do have, as part of our manager excellence program, so the modules that managers have to do every single year. We have a well-being module there where people managers actually are expected to complete a mental well-being module. And I did say that all this works if you have, the organizational infrastructure and ecosystem that really supports this. And this talks to your policies, your processes, and also, your ways of work that really has to ensure that everything flows from individual to team to the organization. So I'm not going to bore you with the details around, some of the things that we do, but you'll see that we have both a proactive and a reactive element to our well-being program, where the proactive stuff is really, we want as many of our colleagues to go through, the mental well-being screening every year. So what we've done, we've partnered with our employee assistance program that every year, when it's your birthday, you get a message that says, "Happy birthday, we hope you are well, we're wishing you a great year ahead." But in addition, there's a link where an individual can do their mental health assessment. And based on the outcomes of that assessment, you'll either be classified as green. So green is everything is going well. And you even get, we have a well-being app. You even start getting personalized messages on what is it that you should be incorporating to ensure that you maintain your well-being, in that state. And then those who are classified as amber, then they will be given, tips on what is available. But if an individual scores red, where it's high risk, already we have a proactive mechanism where one of our either a mental health coach or psychologist would call them proactively to check in on them so that they can get, the requisite support. So those are some of the things that we have incorporated into our program. So in conclusion, I'm mindful that we are about, I want to open it up for a discussion. Firstly, the cost of not treating mental illness far outweighs the cost of early identification and access to treatment. So that one goes without saying. Like most, medical conditions, prevention is the most. It's the most cost-effective. It's the most cost-effective intervention, but early detection also carries a much better prognosis. So it's important that when we incorporate these comprehensive mental well-being programs, that they have resources that are mainly aimed at, prevention, raising awareness, and making sure that, employees have access, to tools that will increase, their education around these. Mental illness has both a direct and indirect cost to business. So there is a clear business and investment case for mental health conditions. This is a stat that we got from, one of the US data that if you spend $1, it yields a return of up to $8. So there is, an investment case for that. And workplace practices contribute to mental ill health. And I think leaders do play a role in either curbing mental ill health or perpetuating mental ill health. And as organizations and leaders, we do have a greater role to play in creating healthy and sustainable workplaces. So I'm going to pause here, Prof, so I can take questions and comments, and also if there are any points of clarity that are required by the delegates. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, my sister. Thank you so much, Doc. If you can close your presentation from your side, ladies and gentlemen, can we do what we we always do. If you can just find um, an icon there where we can just show some appreciation to Dr. Lisigo. Wow, uh, oh, what did I do here? I've just become. I'm so sorry. Something disturbed me here. Sorry. So I'm so sorry about that. What an insightful and informative presentation, my sister, Dr. Lisigo. Thank you so much. We needed this. I'm telling you, this platform needed this, and thank you so much to you. Thanks very much. And I don't want to deprive my colleagues to take a lot of time. I want to open to the conversation now, or to open this to conversation or to questions. Ladies and gentlemen, please let's shoot. For me, this is the most important presentation for us as leaders, as scholars, uh, because, as she said, the cost of not treating it outweighs so much. So it's so important that we take care of it. And scholars, and even this platform, I think almost everyone, scholars and leaders, the enough sleep, please, enough sleep, enough sleep is important. I know that we dealt with this in one of the sessions we had with Dr. Petla last time when we're talking about the importance of sleeping, especially, and I'm including myself there, especially to us scholars when we sleep around 2 o'clock and 1 o'clock because we are waking. So, any thoughts? Any questions? Let me ask while our colleagues are still coming. I'll ask a question, but I'll also ask Dr. Linda Peters just to give an input, and then we can open to our colleagues. My question, Dr. Lisigo, there is a perception, right or wrongly, and I hope it's wrong. There's a perception that these diseases really are things that are coming now. You know, that our forefathers never had these things. That other people, they will even try to ask and say, did we have any terminology of depression in our indigenous language? What is depression in this language? Who can tell me what is this? Because they would say that anxiety and all that stuff. Where did this thing start? Did we have it in those days? How did they manage it? I don't know if I can say so well, or is it because of the time that we're living in now? As you said, the food, the diet, and all stuff, the busy life that are causing all these things. What are your thoughts there, Dr. Lisigo?
So, Prof, I think we've always had mental illness. Yeah, and like I said, that the prevalence and incidence is increasing. However, I can say that I think in traditional African settings, I think mental ill health was not always well understood. And if I think about some of the symptoms of, your severe mental conditions, I think if we probably have to cast our minds to, when in rural areas, there were individuals that were known that had mental health challenges, but generally they were ostracized. I think they were also marginalized, but I think we've always had mental health challenges in our communities. However, not always well understood, but also not well diagnosed, but also not well managed and treated. Yeah, so that's something. However, like most of the, if you think about epidemiology and trends in diseases, we are seeing that, there is an increase in the burden of mental health, mental illness. Yeah. So it's not true that it's a new thing. It has been with us for a while. However, we are seeing unprecedented, increases.
Thanks, Doc. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I recognize you, Spiwe. I'll take you, Dr. Linda Peter, my sister. Dr. Peter? Okay, let's go to Spiwe. Spiwe Mngadi, over to you, Madlogov.
Thank you so much, Prof. Doc, my question is, how do employees deal with mental health issues by addressing it with management in a highly competitive environment and the demands for productivity in this current state of the economy, considering that everyone is replaceable if not performing or not being productive due to mental health issues? Thank you.
Thanks. I think that's an important question, Spiwe. Thank you for that. Look, I think it really starts with, I think as South Africa, I think we have to consider ourselves fortunate that we have robust labor laws. However, how we translate practically, I don't think it's always, it always lives up to the expectations of the laws of, the laws that govern, employment contracts. However, and I think that that's why leaders play an important role. So it's important that, I think progressive organizations, number one, they have policies that really safeguard employees that have ill health. In addition, mental ill health would fall in there. So it's important that, those policies really do support and safeguard employees when they're not well, and ensure that they get access to the treatment and rehabilitation that they require. But practically, I can say that, pure, that that's not always the case. I mean, I also do I read a lot on common cases why people go to the CCMA for unfair labor practices, and we do know that there's still a high level of individuals that are discriminated against and victimized because of mental health. So it would be disingenuous of me to come here and say that things are rosy. That's not the case. But all of us that are on this call as leaders, we have a responsibility and we have a role to play in changing these dynamics in the workplaces where we work, so that individuals can have the psychological safety to come forward and seek for help, and know that their livelihoods will not be impacted, because it's something that would go against our employment contracts, but also it will go against our constitutional provisions, because all of us have a right to dignity, irrespective of whether we have mental health conditions or not. But I think we still have a long way to go. But the 30 odd individuals that are here today, we can take the message forward and start being the change that we want to see. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc. Thank you so much. I see that Dr. Linda, it's already now. Doc, are you ready? Over to you, Dr. Peter.
Okay, thank you very much, Prof. I have to leave the meeting and log on again. I don't know what's going on with my buttons. Good evening, Doctor. Thank you very much for a very insightful topic on mental health, and good evening to everybody that is on the chat. Prof, you said mental health previously, it was something that sort of was not there. And now it has taken, it's now becoming more prevalent, if I may put it that way. But it has always been there. Until 2019, mental health bears a stigma, and people did not even understand the mental illness part of it. 2019 May, 19th of May, the World Health Organization declared mental health and classified it as a disease. It is then that a lot of companies and even individuals, that includes private and public sector, saw it fit to create awareness on mental health issues. And what I want to know from Doc, what programs do ABSA have to ensure work-life balance for leadership?
Thank you.
I'll
Thanks, Dr.
take
Go ahead,
Yes,
Doc. Sorry.
I'll tell you why I'm asking this question, because in terms of the wellness programs in most companies, it has become a buzzword. And when it comes to implementation, then they implement one glove fits all, something that is not industry fit. And as a result, you find out that most of the leadership do not participate in this program. How do you then encourage your leadership in ABSA to participate, or what programs do you have for leadership in terms of wellness?
Thank you. Thanks, Dr. Peter. I think that's an important.
Can I just step you, Dr. Lesego? Sorry.
No worries, thank you.
If you don't mind, can I saw a question that the chat room, and I would like you to take both of them. I think that was my sister, that Tobile Dawane. How do you know as a leader that your behavior can cause mental health problems? Can you take those two questions, Doc? Thank you. Over to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Prof. I think the first thing, let me respond to Dr. Peter first. Yeah, so what we do, Dr. Peter, we really believe that it's not a one size fits all. So absolutely, you're raising an important point. And in addition, if you think we have 38,000 employees, in our organization, and they do various things. Some are, customer facing, some, work back office, some are entry level, middle management, senior executive. So our well-being, not even mental, we believe in comprehensive well-being programs. So it really is customized, based on the various personas in our organization. So it's not a one-size-fits-all. So you did ask about executives and senior managers. So we have an executive well-being program that really is aimed at executives and quite comprehensive. It starts with executive medical assessments as part of screening, and in addition, our executives have access to the full suite of services, be it a dietitian, access to a physical well-being coach, a coach as well that can also support, with the mental well-being journey and performance. So we really make sure that it's hyper-personalized and it meets the needs of the executive. So we do not do a one-size-fits-all. In addition, we try and mix, the use of technology, using our well-being app. And we also now have, cognitive behavioral therapy that our employees can access, through a mobile app. So quite comprehensive. And if I move to the question that was asked, let me see the question again from Tobile. Tobile is asking, how do you know as a leader that your behavior can cause mental health problems? I think most leaders would know actually when their behavior actually causes mental health problems. It's the same as how we parent for those that have children or have the responsibility to parent. I think there is a behavior that is generally acceptable, where we treat people with respect, with dignity, and where we really create a conducive environment where people can come as they are and really perform at their best. And I think as leaders we even have a bigger role to play around stewardship, leaving individuals in a better state than how we found them. And if your behavior does not align to some of these things that I have done, that I've said, actually you have to think about the role that you play in either fostering or what you are doing to engender mental well-being. In addition, this thing around boundaries is quite important. I think with technology, most leaders expect their teams to be available 24/7, and that's not the right thing. So it's important to also negotiate and manage boundaries for yourselves and for your teams. But I think a lot of us would know when we behave and role model, a good leadership that enhances mental well-being. And if you have a team of 10 individuals and every month or so there are 3 people who are off ill and they are getting sick notes from the psychiatrist, you have to start thinking about the patterns around you and thinking, do you have a role to play in all that? Yeah, so that's all I can respond to, Prof. I hope I have answered that question. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Doc. Thanks a lot. During COVID, how was the state of mental illness? You did say that we are social beings, and obviously we are benefiting from the virtual net now, like we are doing. Actually, this platform started in the midst of COVID in 2020. But during that time when we could not go to churches, go to malls, go to anything, we were just inside our houses. What was the observation there in terms of mental illness prevalence, or how did it work out? Was there any prevalence or any rise or anything? Over to you.
Yeah. Look, without doubt, Prof, there was an increase in the prevalence of mental illness during COVID, and it was driven by a multitude of reasons. So I think the first one was we were coinciding with the pandemic. I mean, it's something that most of us will probably only really live through once in a lifetime. There was anxiety. Around will I make it? Because we started seeing loved ones. I think most of us, were impacted and affected by COVID. We know of someone that, passed away during COVID. So there was a lot of anxiety around that. There was loss and grief that also, impacted on our well-being. I think the lockdowns created isolation. I did talk about social connection as as a driver of mental well-being. And the other one that we also downplay is because of social distancing. We could not even hug individuals. You had to, and research shows that an act of hugging, especially if it's 5 seconds or more, our bodies produce serotonin, which is a feel-good hormone. So these are physiological substances that our bodies produce, to give us a mental boost. So that was also taken away from us. There was anxiety around, our livelihoods. We did not know, whether you'll still have a job. next week or the week after. And there were other challenges. We had to homeschool our children. I remember my one of my kids was in grade 1 when COVID started, and I have a newfound respect for grade 1 teachers. So I had to teach my child to read and write, and that really tested my resolve. And I can tell you, my mental well-being took a knock just by trying to teach my child to read and write. But I think it was multifactorial, and to your point, Prof, yes, there was an increase in mental illness, and it was driven by a lot of things. And one of the things that also was very particular and peculiar to us as South Africans was, and I think the president at that time called it the shadow pandemic. As we were dealing with COVID, there was also an increase in gender-based violence and femicide. So that was also another driver of mental illness that is unique to our country as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Doc. Yeah, indeed. I remember it was a very challenging time. We lost many people we know. Actually,
Yeah.
I remember Dr. John Dibane was supposed to address us on a Wednesday, and I think he passed on Sunday morning of that week. I had been talking to him on Saturday, discussing about the what you call the session. We are devastated. Dumsani Kumalo was going to address us. He passed. So there's so many people that we lost during that time. Definitely. Let me just see them on the chat room. That was Dr. Petla. Thank you for a great presentation, Doc. And then we've read the Tobile one. Zwandile Maba. So as leaders, we also need to be aware of our mental well-being. We tend to focus on individuals more and forget about ourselves indeed. Tsidiso, thanks, Doc, for an informative presentation. Are there any mental illness signs that a person may display that should prompt them to seek help? Can I ask you, Doc, to respond to this question, but also to give us your closing remarks? And after that, I hope Professor Zitte is still with us here. I'll ask my Professor Zitte to thank you, then we close this session. So you can respond to Sidiso's question and then you give us your parting shots. Then after that, Prof. Zitte will take over. Thanks, Doc. Over to you, Doc. Sorry.
Thanks, Prof. Yes, I think Sidiso, like we say, common things occur commonly. Your most common mental health conditions would be depression and anxiety. And common symptoms for depression would be a low mood, a low sustained mood, and losing interest in things that previously gave you joy. If you enjoyed going out with friends and family, all of a sudden you don't feel like doing that. Changes in your sleep patterns, either you sleep too much or too little. Changes in your appetite, you eat too little or too much. And also it can manifest with some physical symptoms like chronic headaches, some gastrointestinal symptoms like heartburn and ulcers. So it really can present in a myriad of symptoms. So if you notice some of those things and they have been there for over a period of time, then I would suggest that you seek medical assistance. But it's not. It's a lot of conditions that we can classify as mental health conditions. So depression would be a common one. Anxiety also is a very common one, where you firstly lack of sleep, inability to concentrate, increased heart rate, difficulty breathing, difficulty finishing, tasks that normally you would. So that would probably signal to anxiety. But like I said, it would be prudent if you have any of those symptoms to seek medical help so that you can get a proper diagnosis. But in closing, I wanted to thank you, Prof, for having me, and for the colleagues for staying on the line on a Wednesday night. And I really hope that you enjoyed the conversation, and looking forward to seeing all of you in the new year. Thank you so much. Thanks, Prof.
Thank you so much, my sister. Thanks a lot. I like that idea of birthdays that ABSA is practicing. On your birthday, the EAP office will send you a nice message and they'll say, yeah, please go and check yourself and screen yourself. I like that practice. I like that one. My Professor Zide, over to you. By the way, your book is out now, my professor. Ethical and Governance Leadership. We are so glad. Please let us know where can we find it, and then thank the speaker. Then we'll thank the session. Over to you, my professor.
Okay, my professor and Doc, thank you so much for what an instructive, inspiring, and even very emotional presentation. You have touched on many aspects of health issues. And indeed, in some instances, particularly we at the leadership level, have not taken much into consideration the effects of poor health services and poor health care at our institutions, at our organizations, at our workplaces. But I believe that with your presentation, having addressed this platform of leaders, intellectuals, academics, administrators, some seed has been planted. I think it would only be to lack of appreciation that we would not be taking your presentation seriously. I mean, as my professor said earlier on, we are here to learn, unlearn, relearn, and to co-learn. I don't know how many books you have written, Doc, but I suggest that if you have not written one on this very insightful topic, it is something that we really need to have in our shelves. And so with those few words, thank you ever so much, my dear doctor. And we're looking forward yet again to sometime next year to have a more engaging conversation with you, because as I said, indeed, we have planted the seed, and the responsibility is on the leadership now to nurture and let this seed grow and develop and to be what we would want it to be. And so, Doc, thank you so much. Over to you, my professor.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, my professor. Thanks a lot for those kind words. And indeed, we want to thank you, Dr. Lesego. So the challenge is there. Please consider writing a book. Maybe we have written a book, we don't know. But if you have
not yet.
oh, yeah.
From Prof's mouth to the, to God's, from his lips to the universe. Maybe the book is coming now. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, especially if you stick to this platform, there's no way that book will never come. I promise you. We'll definitely make sure that that book comes and will assist you to doing that. Thank you so much, my sister. Indeed, we will engage you next year. But please, whenever you have time, do attend. We always say this platform is leaders or peers speaking to other leaders. Actually, 95 or 98% participants who are here are our past speakers. So as leaders, we come listen to others and come and speak and address. But whenever you have time, we do come and listen to others as well. That's how we learn. So thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, as I said, this is last part one session. Next week, it will be our last session. Please do come. Don't miss. You can't miss the last session. Why would you've done so well the whole year, and now you want to miss the last session? You can't do that. So we'll meet next week. After that, we'll take a break. Thank you so much. The session is adjourned now until we meet again next week, Wednesday. May God bless you, and may God bless Africa. Nkosi sikelele Africa. Thank you so much, and goodbye. Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye.